Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Valiantys webinar called Jira Work Management for All. Thank you for joining today. I really hope you find this webinar valuable and worthy of your time. My name is Jason Kidner, and I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hour through a number of real-life use cases of Atlassian products. I am a enterprise solutions architect here at Valiantys. I'm also a safe practice consultant and an Atlassian certified professional. I am joined on this webinar by my colleague, Addie. She's going to be monitoring the Q&A area, and she's also going to be posting some helpful links about other webinars and other videos that we have that publicly available out on the internet for you. So she'll be checking on things. So you'll be seeing that in the chat. And I would ask you that if you do have any questions along the way, please open the Q&A part of the Zoom call and put your question in there. And I will do my best to answer those at the end of the webinar. Our webinar is pretty straightforward, basic agenda. So I'm going to go over some introductory thoughts around working better as a team and around some of the Atlassian products that we're going to be looking at. Then I'm going to go through some real life examples of use cases and solutions that we've done with clients. I'm going to go through 5 of those, and that's going to be the main heart of the webinar. So you're going to see some real life examples, and then again at the end there will be some time for question and answer. So let's kick it off with some introductory thoughts. And despite its name, this webinar is not just about Jira Work Management for the product Jira Work Management. I am going to cover that, but really over the next hour, I'd like to show you an array of tools and processes that will help you and your team work in a better way. Again, no matter what type of team you're on, okay? So what does a better way to work look like? It is making work visible, having clear next steps in your processes, making work collaborative, using flexible tools that change as quickly as your environment changes, and lastly, shifting your mindset from doing more work in less time to generating more value with less work. So real focus on value in all the things that you're doing. And going along with this, just a couple of key points to make around the idea of people and processes and tools. So all 3 of these things are going to be key to whatever work you and your organization, you and your teams are doing. And I put them in this order of people, then processes, then tools, to just highlight that people come first, right? I mean, people are foundational to your team, to your organization, to doing whatever you're doing in the world. So people come first, right? And then there's the processes that focus on value and collaboration and hopefully getting things done in a meaningful way for all of you. And then finally, there's those flexible tools that support and don't hinder your people and your processes. And related to this, sometimes this comes up, well, it often comes up in engagements I'm on, is that the tools that we're using, and notably we're going to be talking about Atlassian products and tools, they can be incredibly helpful, but they can't ultimately solve your people or your process problems. So oftentimes we'll come back and say, that's a process thing. You have to come back and talk about that. And maybe we need a new process to kind of get to where you want to get to as a team or organization. So with that in mind, we're going to now turn our attention to some great tools, some great products within the Atlassian ecosystem that can, as you'll see, can benefit any team, not just software teams or IT teams. So this gets us into just a quick overview of Atlassian. Whether you know Atlassian well, products well, or you're really new to it, just want to highlight that again, Atlassian has a number of products and their products are ubiquitous, meaning that they're likely already being used somewhere or in your organization or on your team, even free app products like Trello. Some users might be using that to keep track of their work just off on the side. So we often work with business teams that want to purchase an Atlassian product, and then they're surprised to find out that some part of their company is already using Atlassian, like Jira or Confluence somewhere, or Trello, and teams are surprised at this, and then they are also then surprised at how easy it is to customize these tools for their particular needs. So if you don't have them, all of these products are very inexpensive. They're very simple to get started with. There's no need to go to your VP of procurement to try to get a license. Most of these you can start off with a 30-day free trial, and to just to start to see, is this going to work for me or not? These tools and products, they're all designed with the teams in mind. They're designed to be collaborative, flexible, scalable, all those things I talked about earlier with doing work better. The Jira products, those are the first on the list. We call them the Jiras. We have Jira Work Management, Jira Software, Jira Service Management. We're going to highlight these in different ways in this webinar. But these are all meant, again, to collaboratively plan, track, visualize work, to do them all as a team. So you know what you're supposed to do and what your other teammates are doing, and you can keep track of everything, and you see real-time updates everywhere. Confluence, the fourth product here on the list, is a collaborative wiki-style documentation tool. I'm going to highlight this in a couple different ways. You'll see that it's really great as a way to visualize not only information from Jira, but also to create documents, to put text in, to also potentially point to other tools that your company uses that out there, like Google or Miro. There's a lot of cool integrations between these products and outside cloud SaaS products. Then we have Trello. Again, I mentioned Trello earlier. This is a board-centric tool that can be used for free by anyone that wants to use it and set up boards and put their tasks and kind of keep track of their tasks off to the side. So I'm going to touch on that very briefly at the end. But ultimately, these are all specific modules. They're actually their own products, and you can modularize these and pick and choose which ones you want to use. They all integrate really, really nicely together. So again, you can use one or all of them together. And we kind of see companies, once they start using one, they start to onboard in another product and then another product, and then it all becomes this wonderful ecosystem that everyone can work in. So now I want to turn our attention to the practical examples. I'm going to go through 5 examples. These are solutions that we've built for clients. All of them, again, apply those better way to work principles that I discussed earlier. So we're going to focus first on task management, then on project management, then on hiring and onboarding. Then we'll shift to service desks, talk about Jira Service Management and how it can be used for any type of team. And then last, we're going to look at just documentation and the centralization of information. So again, as you look through these are kind of big headings that really could apply to any type of team. And that's the point really of this webinar, to show how these Atlassian tools and products can be used for any type of team in your company. So our first solution is around task management. So we're going to kind of walk through this similar pattern for each of these. So who does this apply to? Well, it applies to everyone, any type of team, anyone out there. And what are typical problems? It's what do we have to do as a team or as an individual? Is everything up to date? Can I trust what I'm seeing on the screen? And then who is taking care of that? Who's responsible for doing that particular task, whatever that happens to be? Okay, you can see how this is very general, and it can apply really to any team that's trying to do work, trying to accomplish something. So the solution at a very high level is central task management with multiple views. Okay, again, making that work visible, giving different ways to see it. And so what we're specifically going to look at in this case is Jira Work Management. Okay, we're actually going to look, this is the one time we're going to look at that particular product, but this sort of stuff can also be done with other types of Jira, like software or JSM. So let's now shift to our instance of Jira. By the way, this webinar is really going to be cloud-centric, so I'm going to focus on the cloud products within Atlassian. Atlassian also does have some data center products out there as well, but we're going to be focusing on the cloud versions of these. So here is an instance of Jira Cloud that has these different products all a part of it. And so I'm going to be going into a Jira Work Management project that's note that it says it's a company managed business project. So if you see business project, that's the same as a Jira Work Management project. So when we come into this one's called accounting. Let me shift over here to the summary tab. Notice this has a number of tabs. This definitely has a different look and feel from the other software and service management projects that we're going to look at. So you have a summary here. This is just a quick dashboard that has some widgets that quickly show you some information around activity and statuses within the project. Then there's a board tab. And you'll see these boards over and over again here in the tool. This one has its own look and feel, but the idea of a board is that all of the work and the tasks that you're working on as a team, they're contained in a project here, and we can see them visualized on a board, which helps to show what workflow status these tasks are in. So each column represents a different workflow status. So where is your work at, or your task at in its workflow? And you can move these back and forth between the columns. Notice it's really very user-friendly to move these around. And you can click on any of these cards to see more information about them. And so you're going to see this view screen that has inline editing available on it and a lot of different other options. I'm not going to go in depth on these, but you're going to see this screen show up in various types of projects. But the idea here, again, is that whatever team you're on, you could potentially use this work management project to put in your tasks, to move them along their workflow, to visualize them here on a board. The project also has a list view. This was Atlassian's way of catering to the teams that are typically using spreadsheets out there and just doing all their work in spreadsheets that are, again, a little hard to potentially share with each other, to collaborate in. So all of the information on all those data points can be brought in to different fields here within Jira Work Management, and they can be visualized in this grid view. And notice you can also do inline editing, similar to what you are used to on Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. So really, this is a newer feature within the work management projects. And you can scroll down and you can see all sorts of information around the status, who's assigned, date fields. So really interesting. You can search on them as well. There's also a calendar view. And this is great. Again, if you need to put in the date field, start and end dates on your tasks to have them show up here. But once they do, you can see like which ones are on track. The ones in red are past the dates that they're meant to be done. So you can see those listed out here. Again, that could be really helpful for those whose tasks are very focused on, they need to be done at this point, and then that can be done at this, after this, and so on and so forth. We also have a timeline view. That's more of like a Gantt chart view. Again, start and end dates really come in handy here to showcase these on this sort of timeline setup. And you can see, different things out here in that particular view for your planning, for your forward planning. One last thing I want to highlight here is there's a Forms tab that allows you to set up a form that can be shared with other users within Jira. And a form is essentially just like a fancy way of saying a create screen. There are creates, the create button, and you can get and create issues here in your project, and you can see all the fields available. The form allows you to take some of these fields and turn it into a more user-friendly kind of form that allows other users to potentially create those tasks, and that it becomes like an intake form, if you will, that you can kind of help lead people in what such and such field is for and what you would like to hear from them. So that also is available within these projects. There's plenty of other features here. Again, not going deep dive on this type of project, but just want to highlight that this is a Jira Work Management project. It is wonderful for task management, and there's a lot of different other views to help with planning and keeping track of when things are due, who's working on them. So a lot of really great features within this project. All right, so next we're going to turn our attention to project management solution around this. So again, who is this solution for, or this example for? Well, certainly for PMO teams, HR teams, marketing teams, any team who manages projects, which are pretty much probably most types of teams. And the problem is when you're managing projects or multiple projects as a team, it's often difficult to keep track of work when many people or many teams are collaborating. There's many handoffs potentially within a single team. So alignment usually comes in the form of standing meetings or manual status reports. So there's often a chance for misalignment where you're not like really up to date on where things are at. There could be delayed handoffs. Again, lots of manual like work that needs to be done, lots of meetings that need to happen that potentially don't need to happen, that might not be terribly valuable when you can just ultimately go in a tool and see the latest and greatest updates of what people are working on. So the solution here at a high level is, again, to make the project work visible and make it easily modified as the team and the environment or the processes change. And ideally to also to help automate some of the reporting, to cut down again on somebody having to go through and manually make this change and this change, to bring in automation, to show some of the integration of like Jira could be your source of truth, but we can show that information in other places like Confluence. So the solution in the Atlassian products that we're going to highlight here is going to show Jira Software and Confluence, but you could easily use Jira Work Management for projects as well. But I'm going to show you Jira Software and some of the nuances, the difference that you can do in a software project compared to a work management. So let's jump back into our Jira Cloud instance. This time I'm going to go to a different project. This one is the Marketing Project Management project. And notice here, this says a software project. Again, you need to have Jira Software, that product, to have the ability to create these software projects. So let's go into this project. You'll instantly see a different UI. Here you have more of a left-hand column with options, many different options here to see issues. And the boards that can be set up within a software project, they look different. They're a lot more, I could say, customizable than the board in a work management project. So here we have a board, and this is, again, just imagine this is a marketing team that are managing their projects here. And on the board, we see a couple different what are called issue types. One has this lightning bolt, this purple icon. This is an epic. So there's a bit of an out-of-the-box hierarchy, issue hierarchy within Jira software. So you have epic as kind of the main, or like the parent issue type at the top of the hierarchy. And underneath an epic, you can create other issue types. In this case, in this project, we have what's called a task. That's that blue or that white check mark icon. So an epic will sit at the top, will be the parent of potentially multiple tasks. And there could also be what are called subtasks as a third layer underneath an epic. But in this particular project, we have our epics, which are going to be representing the projects, the larger body of work that's trying to be accomplished. And those projects are going to be made up of tasks that are those more granular work items that could be assigned out to different people on your team. So I see this particular project alpha project here, again, represented by an epic. When I click on this card on the board, I see a lot of information. Again, issues within Jira have, you can add lots of different types of fields, what are called fields. Some of these are out of the box, but you can create many different types of custom fields within a given issue. So here we see that there's a lot of these longer paragraph or multi-text fields around the project information, like background and business objectives. You can create different tabs here for the screen. to showcase different fields in different ways. When I scroll down, I can also see here that there are child issues. Again, those tasks can be marked with this epic as it's their parent, and then they show up as child issues here on an epic, and I can quickly see the summary, who might be working on them, what their status is. I can even do some updating of those tasks from the epic themselves. I can also scroll down and see other Confluence pages. We're going to get to that, some integration with Confluence. Can see goals. That's touching on another product I want to highlight here shortly called Atlas. But you can comment on these. You can see on issues. You can see the history of the issues, things like that. You can also see here on the right side column, lots of other information around the people related to this particular project, dates around this project, priority, so on and so forth. Lots of information that can be shown here. So the idea is that Jira, this Jira software project, houses the issues, houses the project, houses all sorts of really key information, and essentially becomes the source of truth for lots of information around a project and the management, the task management of that project. And any work item here or issue in Jira also has a workflow. We'll talk about that more in the next solution, but those workflows have different statuses that you can move them back and forth in. So this project management, again, is done at the epic level with tasks underneath it. So this is where you're doing a lot of that, where like updating statuses, updating fields, but then some of your audience may not necessarily be in here, and you might have these meetings, these status update meetings, or you need to talk to some higher level executives around your project. So this is where Jira may not be the best place to showcase information. You can then switch over and use Confluence to highlight how things are going with your projects. Okay, so now I'm in Confluence, again, Confluence Cloud, and Confluence is broken up into what are called spaces. These are the containers of the documentation within Confluence. So you have a space, in this case, it's the marketing team space. And in this space, there are what are called pages. And these pages have a hierarchy, and you have parent pages and children pages, and you can organize them nicely over here. So what I want to highlight here is that we've created a page for each of those epics that represents a project over in Jira. So here we have that project alpha. This is a unique page. You can create a nice template too and reuse this template for each particular project you have. So this particular template has a number of things, and I'll quickly run through this. There's a calendar. This is an add-on that comes, or it comes with Confluence Premium. You can add these team calendars into your spaces and your pages to see events or PTO, things like that. So that's been put here. Notice here under the status, we have a nice integration here where we've put in the Jira issue from that marketing project here that represents this project. And I can quickly see some information around who it's assigned to, what's the workflow status, what's the priority, things like that. So I can quickly see this project is represented by that epic. As I scroll down, there's a table here that has some information that some of this is coming from Jira, some of it's coming from Confluence. So these individual statuses, these are actually being input into the Confluence page itself. So this is not coming from Jira. But these other dates like target start, target end, those are coming from Jira. So there's a way to bring in information from Jira and a way to allow you to put some specific information within Confluence itself. As I scroll down, there's a couple of different filtering views that allow you to show different, again, work items from Jira that relate. You can bring in a filter from Jira and highlight those and decide which columns you want to show. In this case, this is showing the current work that's being done underneath this epic. So those are tasks that are still in progress or to do. It's also showing completed work. Those are ones that have reached that one of those done statuses in the workflow. There's a pie chart that's available to show. These are all what are called macros. You can bring lots of different macros into your Confluence page and build it out. And this is, again, showing that tight integration with Jira. As I scroll down, we can see other information, again, coming from Jira as the source of truth around your milestones. And then there's other fields that were on that Jira epic that can be brought in different ways. And so anything that changes in Jira on that epic, all I need to do is refresh this screen and I'm going to get a real-time update of anything that's happening over in Jira. So you never have to wonder what is the latest. Well, I'm seeing the latest status from Jira. So lots of opportunities to use Confluence. One other thing to highlight here is there's a project, we've created a project dashboard that essentially sits above all of these individual project pages. And so this dashboard is created in a way that you can see all of the projects that your team might be working on all in one place for a quick update, a dashboard. Let me click off that. So again, this is bringing in, using a couple different macros to highlight this and summarize it all nicely, where I'm bringing in the pages, various parts of those pages, like those different statuses that were appearing in that one table on each page. So I'm bringing all that information in so I can see how each of them are doing. And as I scroll down, we also just noted here that we've brought in what's called an advanced roadmaps plan from Jira software. Advanced roadmaps is a piece of Jira Software Premium or Enterprise. That's a really great different sort of UI for highlighting different statuses and different timelines and dependencies within a project or projects. So, and this can obviously be brought over and visualized within a Confluence page. Again, another really key aspect of integrating these different Atlassian products. Okay, so that is just a summary again of the project management piece where we were using a Jira software project to represent those projects as epics with tasks underneath them, updating them over here, keeping track of their statuses and lots of finite bits of information on those. And then you can use Confluence to create summary status pages where you can bring in even other features of Confluence to help complement what's in Jira as well. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to take a drink of water. So just a quick commercial about Valiantys. Some highlights here. We are a global company, one of 3 global partners. We are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, so that's like the highest tier of solution partners. So we have a really, really tight relationship with Atlassian. And we've met many different criteria that I'll kind of highlight later. You can see all of our accolades, but we are all over the world. So we can certainly support you 24/7 in various languages around the world. We also can support you with any product in the Atlassian ecosystem. We are an Atlassian first partner. So we are really focused on Atlassian. We can certainly help you with integrations between Atlassian products and other products out there. We've done that for many different clients, or migrating from other tools and products to Atlassian products. But we can certainly help you with anything related to Atlassian, the Atlassian ecosystem, including all the different apps that come with the ecosystem. We also support any of the platforms that are within the Atlassian ecosystem. So again, cloud, there's data center. We're doing a lot of migrations of companies that are on data center or on server, and we're migrating them to the cloud, where again, Atlassian's really, really investing a lot more into the cloud going forward. And so we are certainly helping with any migration needs, any integration needs, but we can certainly support you with any of the platforms that Atlassian has. And then just some other accolades. Again, we're the #1 Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner globally. The other thing I want to highlight here, as I'm not going to read through all this, but we can also help support you with your licensing for any of your Atlassian products. And again, we also have some great a really smart technical team of developers, full stack developers that can help too with any custom development needs that relate with the Atlassian ecosystem or even outside of the Atlassian ecosystem. But we've done some really cool integrations with other products, and we can also work on custom front ends as well for different products, or maybe a new app that your company needs that isn't on the marketplace, but that would really benefit you. We have just a wealth of expertise to help you with anything you need help with. Okay, that ends the commercial. So we are going to get back to our third example use case. This is hiring and onboarding. So who is this for? Well, HR teams certainly come to mind, but it's really anyone who onboards, any type of team that might be doing some onboarding that involves training and kind of getting people ready to do the role that they've been hired for or transferring in from. So the problem is that teams need unique processes that scale, and processes change over time, onboarding processes, and there might be unclear steps with like, what do I do next in the onboarding process? Where is somebody at as they're onboarding? So in this case, we came up with a solution actually for an insurance company that had a really specific need that related to their pipeline and hiring hundreds of different people to be in the service role, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 service roles. So we needed to come up with a solution that coordinated all those onboarding tasks across multiple teams, that helped to sync those tasks with external systems, that had to have a lot of automation built in, again, to think like if somebody reaches this step in the onboarding process, we need to get ready for something further down. And it all needed to meet insurance industry compliance. So this particular client had been stuck in spreadsheets, again, making collaboration, visibility really difficult. So the solution at a high level was tailored workflows that provided clear next steps for onboarding, as well as validating information that involved automation and creating tasks downstream, or potentially sending out an information to an external system for updating over there, and ultimately a reporting database where everybody knows where everybody else is within the system. So the solution that I'm going to show here, again, is using Jira software. You could also potentially use Jira Service Management in a similar way. So let's go back to Jira. And here I'm going to go to our onboarding project. This, again, is a software project, so it's going to look similar to this marketing project we had just been in. And notice when we come into the project, there's a board. There's a couple boards here in this project. The first board I want to highlight is a tier 1 onboarding board. So this has showcases particular issues. This is a custom issue type that was created that has this one as the icon. So this is meant to represent those people who are being onboarded for a tier 1 support role. And so I see a board here that represents the different statuses in the workflow. So I can see all the people that are being onboarded. I can see exactly which status they're in. So, and to just drill into this a little bit more and showcase kind of this unique custom workflow and visualization, let's look at Florence. So again, this particular issue represents a person that's being onboarded. Then there's some little information about them here in different fields. But what I want to highlight here is the workflow, which I can get to the workflow by going to this dropdown, and I can change the workflow status, and I can see the different transitions here. But I want to actually view the workflow by clicking this button. So this is our again, onboarding to workflow tier 1. So I see here that all the different statuses of this workflow. So the workflows in Jira are made up of two things at a high level. One is called a status, which are represented by these lozenges. So I can see the different statuses that this work item could be moved to. And then you see the different lines and arrows between those different statuses, those are called transitions. And transitions are where you can put a lot of powerful automation and validation in within Jira. So, but the idea here is that you're moving users from one status to the next. They're starting at recruited, then being scheduled, then going through training, then going into a peer mentoring phase of their onboarding, and then ultimately reaching good to go. There are some other paths that the workflow allows for, where a person might withdraw, or they might just not show up to a particular scheduled thing. And ultimately, those would potentially relate to they are terminated. They are not good to go. And so there's different places where this workflow could go. And then notice here, there's another action available within this workflow called a request termination. So that's another piece of where this is really set up to allow for automation to take place, where you're requesting that termination. There might be a screen that you need to fill out, and then it gets sent off, and then it will notify other users in the system or potentially go out to other external systems, again, to help along that process. They automate some of those work steps. And so that's really a workflow at a high level. But you can put in all sorts of automation within each of these transitions. You can also have validation set up where you can't transition a person from one workflow status to the next if they haven't met such and such criteria, or if such and such fields haven't been filled out, or and there could be approval built into this. Lots of different opportunities within the workflows, but this is an example again of what we did with a real life client, and it's something similar to how we even do some onboarding within Valiantys. So that's one example of a custom workflow, and then to visualize those users being onboarded in a board, a Kanban board here within a Jira software project. There is, just to note quickly, another board called the Tier 2 onboarding board, just to highlight that within one project, you can have different issue types, and you can do multiple things within one project. You don't need to spin up a whole separate Jira project to handle, in this case, Tier 2 onboarding. The Tier 2 users just have another issue type. They have a completely separate board. You can filter out and just show a certain group of issues on a separate board in this case. And so this, notice, has a lot more columns on it because there's a lot more workflow statuses in the workflow for this issue. So let's go into one of these, number 2 issues. And let's look at this workflow really quick. So as we expected, with all those columns, there are a lot more workflow statuses. So a couple more that weren't in the Tier 1, there's a testing and a passed and a certified status. Again, that these Tier 2 agents, or whatever their role's called, they need to be even more qualified, to have more knowledge than a Tier 1 particular role. So there's more steps along this process. And again, similar things where there might be a no-show. They might say, no, you know what, I don't want to be a Tier 2, and they withdraw. Or potentially there's a termination that's needed. And so that's all built in here, again, with different automations. Lots of opportunities, again, to customize these and to help and make Jira work for you as you're moving either, in this case, people represented as work items through an onboarding process. All right, so that wraps up that, where the idea of using workflows, using boards to help with the overall onboarding process within a company. And this ended up working really, really well for this insurance company. And it scaled really nicely to allow them, again, to onboard hundreds, if not thousands, of new employees or people going into new roles. And it showed visibility all along the way and met their compliance needs as well. Okay, we have 2 more examples to go. So the next one is service desks. So who is this for? Well, when you hear service desk, usually you might hear like an IT team or some facilities team that you with as an internal employee or potentially might be using, or service desk that a vendor or company has with their customers, that the customers submit support tickets like Atlassian has, or other vendors that Atlassian has that I know I use, and they use service desks. So, but service desk can really be for any type of team, anything you can think of. Here we highlight HR, marketing, facilities, legal. So it's really could be any type of team could benefit from a service desk, because like most teams are providing some sort of service within the company, either to internal employees or external customers. So again, legal, marketing come to mind, HR potentially, again, they could all benefit from having a service desk. And the problem here is that teams have different channels of intake, okay? Whether you consider yourself a service team or not, like there could be different types of intake, channels of intake, like email, or your boss comes along and sends you a message or an email saying, we need to do this sort of work. You could have a doorway conversation. You could get a phone call, all sorts of different channels where it's, how do I intake these? How do I represent these in a tool that then needs to be prioritized, and to make sure that I know what I'm working on, and I know what my teammates are working on, or if this has come in, that somebody gets assigned to it. So there's lots of issues around the intake and prioritization. And so the solution really, again, is a service desk, a product that has a service desk with clear intake forms, that has prioritized queues, that could maybe have automation built in to help update and send messages back to the requester, or to help auto assign issues to a certain group of people within your team that can handle that particular type of need, of ticket that's been sent in. So in this case, I want to highlight the product called Jira Service Management that also has some connections in with Confluence. So we'll do a quick demo here. There are other webinars we have around service management, so this is just going to be a quick example of that tool. So let me jump back into our Jira instance. And here I'm going to note that we have Jira Service Management also built into this one cloud instance. So one cloud instance of Jira can have Jira Software product. It can have Jira Service Management. It can have Jira Work Management. You can have these different products installed in one instance of Jira. So in this case, this is highlighting a portal that comes when you have the Jira Service Management product installed. This is the highest level of the portal, where you can show different, like you can search, have some searchability here. You can highlight some different linking out to, in this case, these are Confluence pages. And then as you scroll down, you can highlight different featured portals. So we have an HR service desk, a facilities service desk. I can open this up and see even more portals. Each of these portals represents a different service management project, again, which is, again, acting as a container of work items. In this case, we're going to call them tickets that are coming in via a portal, could come in via an email as well. But in this case, Jira Service Management gives you these external facing portals. So I'm going to click on this HR service desk. Again, just to highlight what this looks like. Each of these has a similar look and feel, and these can be customized as well. So this service desk has a number of different, what are called request types, for different things that this HR team could be handling. And these could be, again, directed to different parts of the team. So we have different options here. Let me click on one of these. I'll click on this onboarding employees, just to highlight that the intake form can be very much customized. You can have different types of fields here that could be entered, and lots of opportunities for forms to make them conditional, some conditionality. So lots of possibilities here. That's one more complex example. But what does it look like to actually submit these? So I'm going to go down to one of the more basic forms called Questions for HR. And so you're going to be signing in as a customer to use this. And so I happen to also be an agent, so I see this ability to request something on behalf of another person. But I'm going to make this on behalf of myself. So I'm going to say, let's see, what are the holiday for 2024? This is something that came up within our own company. What are our company holidays this year? So maybe I don't know where to find that, so I submit a ticket. And notice when you're starting to fill this out, Confluence is also trying to see, is there a way that maybe there's a help article based on the summary that I can showcase some different help articles that live in Confluence. So there's a tight integration between JSM and Confluence. And so maybe I can deflect the need for this service request by having a user look at a Confluence page. So there's that opportunity here within JSM, or Jira Service Management. But maybe I actually need to send this in. So I type in a summary, a description, and then I send it. And so this is, again, an intake channel that provides a nice containment, a nice easy way for any type of user to submit their request. And so it gets submitted. I see the status that it's at. If the status changes from the agent's point of view, that will reflect here. I'll get notified. I'll get an email, unless I turn those off. I'll get an email that I can reply to, or I can come in here. I can add a comment to communicate back and forth with the agent, and the agent can communicate with me through comments. So a really nice way to interact with, again, an internal customer or an external customer. And then this, from the agent point of view, let me put on that hat, and I'm going to come back into this HR Service Desk project as an agent. And so here I'm seeing the view screen of what this looks like from the agent's point of view. Again, a lot more buttons to fill out, a lot more fields I could potentially fill out. Those fields would be filled out, again, from the user if those fields existed on that intake form. I can adjust the workflow of these. I can see the SLAs involved and where those stand, where that clock is ticking on meeting those needs. There's also here different queues that I can look at, either as an agent or maybe a supervisor that could be looking and seeing how the team's doing at triaging, addressing these tickets that are coming in. You can have assignments made. You could also have automation rules that allow for auto assigning of issues as well. So a lot of cool opportunities here. But the idea here is, again, you bring everything in, all the different types of intakes that could happen. You really focus them through this particular portal, or potentially an email, and they become actual tickets with potential different issue types here that can then be addressed by the team. So everybody knows who's working on something. There's a nice back and forth between the agent and the customer through comments. The agent knows where something is at in the workflow. The customer knows where something's at in the workflow. And it's all just, again, a lot of collaboration, lots of visibility built in here. So I'm not going to go in more depth here. There are other webinars. There's other recordings. Addie's going to mention those links to our YouTube channel, where we have a lot of great resource videos around Jira Service Management and other products out there as well. All right, so we are almost out of time. So let's get to our final example. It is centralized knowledge. So who needs centralized knowledge? Well, everybody does. Anyone who's doing work, you're building up knowledge bases within yourself, and maybe writing out lots of different things that you just did with a client, or whatever type of work you're doing. You want to be able to share that knowledge with your team. Maybe your team wants to share their knowledge with the larger organization. So the problem is, where do I find this information? If it's been created, like out there, somebody knows about it, but how do I get to it? And is that information up to date? How do I know that it's the latest and greatest version? So the solution, again, is to have a centralized, organized portal for knowledge. And as you might have guessed, I'm going to demonstrate how Confluence could be that product for centralized knowledge. Not necessarily the only product for where knowledge is stored, but the place for the centralized knowledge where, and I'll highlight some of this shortly. So let's go back to Confluence. And I'm back here again in the marketing team's space. And here's where I'm just going to showcase some other things about Confluence, where each space has an overview page. Again, this is just another type of page that you can put macros in. But what's nice about this is you could potentially put macros in that show you all the different pages and allow you to drill through and see different pages here. Within the space, you can see the recently updated pages. That's a nice landing page. You could also come in here. There's a team homepage, which talks about who the team is, what it's about, what are the latest updates within the space, all the different pages, who's updated them, when were they updated. Again, to know how recent those changes were. Those are all, by the way, links to other Confluence pages. Then you could have other links in here about where to find us. You could put in email links. You could put links into other websites or other tools out there that are out on the internet. So it doesn't have to just be things you're linking to within Confluence itself. That's where Confluence becomes really powerful, where it becomes the one-stop shop that then points you in different directions to go to. And it might point you to other tools. There's our team, all their smiling faces. And then I scroll down, I can see again that calendar, that team calendars macro, frequently used resources. These are quick links, potentially to Confluence pages, but a lot of these are going to other outside websites. Then I did highlight those project dashboard pages. There's meeting notes. There's all sorts of different templates, page templates within Confluence. So many to choose from. But then here at the end, I just want to highlight some collaboration or some integrations that you can do within Confluence. So this happens to be like the marketing team's working on a new product plan. And instead of using Confluence for that, they have another tool called Miro. And it's another one of these cloud SaaS product out there on the market. Lots of different things like this. So, but in this case, notice that this marketing demo board was created and it's being updated over in Miro, but that link to that board can be then shared, copied, and put into this Confluence page. And this Confluence page will show the board in line. So a user doesn't necessarily have to have a Miro license. They could come in here and see the board. They would need a Miro license to make updates and different things like that, but they could at least see it in line. So there's not this context switching. I happen to be logged into Miro, so I can do some other things here. But again, there are lots of really what are called smart links within Confluence. This is a smart link to Miro. There's another page with a smart link, this time to Trello. So this is our team. Maybe our team uses Jira for project management, but maybe it uses Trello for just some really basic kind of one-off sort of task management. Getting ready for the trade show in Las Vegas this year. And so the team has set up a board. Again, this is a view into Trello. This is an inline board where I don't have to jump over to Trello. I can just come in here and I can move along that, hey, I booked my flight. I still have to book my hotel, but I can do some inline updating here, and that will show up then in Trello. So again, some tight integration between these, in this case, two Atlassian tools. Lastly here, I want to highlight another page that showcases that you can bring in inline, in this case, a Google Sheet or a Google Doc. Again, they can be shown inline here. You can then click on these. Again, if you have that Google account, you can click on this and go straight over into Google Drive. There's other opportunities for like SharePoint, things with Microsoft Teams. There's all sorts of different integrations between Atlassian products and other products from other companies out there. These are just a few of those, just to highlight that, again, Confluence could be your space that people come into, and then you point them potentially to other places, but they come here to know where to get pointed to. So again, that centralized knowledge base. We're almost at time. I want to get to questions and answers. I did forget to mention back in the project management example where we highlighted showing a project being represented as an epic within a Jira software project here, and then a Confluence page. I did want to also highlight that there is another newer product within the Atlassian ecosystem called Atlas. And this is free. There is a paid tier of it, but I'm showcasing the free one where you can basically create what are called projects here within Atlas. And those projects can be tracked against actual issues within a Jira software instance. So Atlas kind of sits a bit outside of a particular instance of Jira or Confluence, but it has ties, it has tight integrations with these. But the idea here that I was trying to mock up was the idea that this particular project relates, it's being tracked in Jira as an epic, but over here within Atlas, you can put in updates. So I could potentially put in updates around, let me post my update. Things are going really well. And I could post this. And those users who are working on the project or are following this project get to see my latest update. And they can see, hey, I changed the date that we're finishing this. I actually did change a date on the epic from 2021 to this coming June. So notice that integration of the updates here. I can add in learnings. I can add in risks and decisions. I haven't done any of that yet. I can update the status of the project. This is a little different than, again, the workflow status. It's its own status tracking here within Atlas. But there's some other cool features here around goals where you can create goals and link goals to projects. And those goals can ultimately be shown back into Jira as well. So there's a lot of cool new features that Atlassian's bringing in, and even new products like Atlas that can be great for your project management. Okay, we are almost at time. I want to get to the Q&A. Looks like Addie's put in a couple of URLs for you to go and look at our videos. All right, let's have a look at some questions. Okay, so couple of questions here. So one question is, do you offer training on these products that you showed today? So the short answer is yes. We can provide training on all these different products. We obviously have these webinars, which are free, but we do, if you go to the website that Addie, our main website, you can go out there and find events. You can also get access and see all the different trainings we have. We do have some public trainings that we have out there on a month-to-month basis, like Jira Bootcamp, Confluence Bootcamp. We also have a Jira Service Management Bootcamp. These range from anywhere from 1 day to 3 days, but those are publicly available where you buy your ticket and you'll show up typically on a Zoom call and walk through all the ins and outs of a given product across one or multiple days, depending on which product it is. We also have a Jira Align Bootcamp coming up. I didn't talk about that product. And we also do custom boot trainings. So a lot of our engagements that we do with clients, especially with implementing a brand new product, we'll build in training as part of that engagement. We can also do specific training engagements where you tell us what you want us to train on, and we will work to either customize it or have one of our out-of-the-box, off-the-shelf trainings ready to go for any of these products, specifically for a group of users within your company, not some public one with people from multiple companies. So we do offer lots of trainings. And I have another question around that. Do you provide certification for those course boot camps? So we don't have like an official certification like Atlassian does. I know at one point we were, I think, potentially giving out some sort of something that says you attended it in case you needed something to show to your company, but it's not as formalized. We don't like send you through an exam. That would be something that Atlassian you'd have to go through Atlassian certification for. We do talk, that does come up on our boot camps. How can you get certified? And we'll point you in those directions. Again, whoever put that in, you can reach out to me. Let me actually highlight how you can reach out to me if you want to know some more about this. My email is here, jason.kidner@valiantys.com. I also have a LinkedIn page that you can scan that QR code if you want to. So great question, but yeah, Atlassian would be the place to go to for certification around their products. Okay, we are just at time here, so thank you again for attending. Hope this was really valuable. We covered a lot of ground, and this will be recorded, and you will get that as well. So hope you have a great rest of your day and great success with your Atlassian products. Bye-bye.